So welcome back, everybody, to Team Spirit. This is your host, Lauren,
Carrie, and Emily.
and today we have our special guest, Al. Al is my best friend. We often share a brain cell, and I think I've mentioned you every single episode so far.
Pretty close.
Yeah, and well, so you can cherish this forever because it's recorded and on YouTube, but I think you're the smartest person I know.
I'm gonna hold that very dear to
Yeah.
my heart. Thank you.
Today we're talking about connecting with nature, which Al, you're really, really good at. And I try to follow in your footsteps literally while we're like hiking and doing things like that. So do you want to introduce yourself
Sure.
and then tell us kind of like your path to where you are now, like spiritually?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Al. First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So, I've been interested in the occult and mysticism since I was a teen, I suppose, but my relationship with nature goes back much further. Most of my childhood was spent just being under trees of some kind. My dad would take us camping every summer. Sometimes he would just rent the same camping spot for the entire summer, and we would just go every weekend, or we would go for like a week at a time or something like that. So it very much just became a part of my life and a way for me to, it's where I learned to disconnect from everything that we're dealing with here in the more urban kind of settings. Just a way to disconnect for me and just get in touch with a deeper rhythm. So I mean, even me and my sister would just explore the woods behind our house. And we had this little cove that we called like the Emerald Isle. And it was so silly, but like it was like me and my sister and all the kids that my mom like babysat, and we would just go, like we would leave at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'd probably be back at the house at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And that was like I like to say that my childhood was green. It was just an irreplaceable experience, I think, to just have that kind of connection. So as I grew up, we still went camping. I became very interested in mysticism and the occult. I dabbled with Wicca growing up, kind of fell out of I was more of a solitary practitioner, fell out of that when college happened and I met this person. But
In the trunk of a car.
in the trunk of a van, yes. But however, Lauren was also part of my path back to spirituality as well. I have a Lord of the Rings tarot deck that my mom got me when I was a kid, and Lauren and I would do readings at the house all the time, and we would do like readings for all, like I lived in a fraternity house with Lauren's husband, and we would just do like tarot readings for like everyone who had every little problem. And
Anybody who peeped their head in and be like,
yes, what are you guys doing?
Do you want to solve a problem?
You're like, come
Yeah.
on in.
Come on in.
Yeah, I know. That's like I'm looking at all of them. Like I know you got problems. Come in here. We'll solve it.
We should charge them.
We really
Love
should.
that.
Absolutely
Absolutely,
do
you
that.
should have charged them.
Yeah.
We really
Fools.
missed out.
Yeah.
They didn't have money. Taco Bell.
Yeah,
I could have traded them for Taco Bell.
Well, we did get a lot of free drinks and free Taco Bell,
That's true.
just by osmosis. Actually, it was in college that I took a Tai Chi class. I learned about moving energy throughout the body, and that really kind of led me on a path of getting more into energy manipulation rather than witchcraft or anything like that. So I got into yoga, I got into the martial arts, and then around 2017, I began a spiritual journey through a 12-step. And that has greatly impacted my life. So today I would probably just say that I'm, kind of had to learn to homogenize all of my different interests and all going in all these different directions. I would say at this point, I'm a Taoist at heart with some Northern European shamanic practices.
I love that. You do it all. That's amazing.
I try. I probably try to do too much, but it's still all coalescing together. But it really works for me. The yoga, the martial arts, the connecting with nature, everything, the shamanism, all that. I think these things were all meant to go together. They're all just parts of, all the different things and all the different practices. Like they're just part of one big whole. I think they're all meant to go together. I don't think we're meant to follow one particular practice.
Me
And it
either.
seems like nature is a lot of like the root of all of them. Like you really, when you can go out and kind of be in tune with nature and like the energy of nature is when you can really like feel and hold it all.
So true.
Yes.
So true.
Because Carrie, you have that space at your parents' house where you go and like kind of disconnect. It's the disconnecting of it all.
Yes. Well, it's
literally
just
clearing.
it's disconnecting from this, but it's connecting with something
Right.
deeper. So it's an unplug and then a replug. It's like, you know how they tell you, like, if something's wrong with your phone or your computer, like, well, just shut it off and turn it back on.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like what nature is.
Yeah.
Like, to me, is like, I'm unplugging from this and I'm gonna plug into this, because it's such a different rhythm. You know, we're so
Yeah,
used to, like, you know, we wake up at certain times and we don't always even operate, like, our sleep schedule is not even tied to the solar rhythms any longer. You know, we go to bed long after the sun has gone down, and sometimes we wake up long after the sun has come up. So we're kind of like divorced from those natural rhythms. And it's when you get back into nature, whatever it is, whether it's like a forest or a mountain or an ocean or whatever, like, you know, we can be reminded that life is operating at so many different levels and so many different rhythms. You know, you have like your animal life that can have very short lives, whether it's just shorter than ours comparatively, at least, but, like, you know, based on whether their lifespan or just the general brutality of nature at times can be so much shorter. But then you have something like trees or mountains or oceans that have longevity that we can't even comprehend. So
Right.
it's coming out of our rhythms that we've locked ourselves into, whether that's as a human or as a society, and tuning back into something that birthed us, that we came from.
And it's crazy how we lose that part of us too as we get older. Because I feel like we all have that as kids, you know, wanting to be outside. And some would argue that this generation's a little different, but my kids
Yeah.
love being outside. And, you know, it's like, where does that get lost? You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's sad because you can just really be free, and you can just really be a part of that beautiful process. And I know, like, I'm really big on like grounding with your shoes off. Like I'm huge on that. And I
Yeah.
really, like, I'm not a stickler about my kids being outside with their shoes off. And I really notice a massive difference, like even this time of year. So I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, and it's hard when it's winter. You know what I mean? Like it's harder because they can't last that long out there, but I know they really want to be out there on the days that we just kind of, okay, we're bundling up, we're going outside, versus when we stay in the house all day. Their moods between those 2 days are drastically different. Even if we only spend 25 to 30 minutes outside in a whole time span of a day, it is drastically different. And I just think, like, because it's grounding, like, and they don't have control over their emotions. They're 2 and they're 4, but it's like, I really feel like the earth takes a lot of that load off of us. And
Yes.
when we're kids or adults, it's just a really beautiful thing.
It's funny you mentioned about like the woods behind your house, like as kids, because I feel like we all growing up had like that wooded area that felt huge and magical. Like
It felt huge.
yes,
Yeah.
like there. So I had a babysitter, and she actually lived next to my great aunt, who her earring is my diamond in my wedding ring, and it was separated by this, I don't know, maybe like 20 feet maybe of trees. And for whatever reason, it felt like I was crossing the earth when I would run away.
Feels like Middle Earth.
Yes,
Like a Lord of
that
the
I
Rings,
was
like,
going through a challenge, going through those woods to get over to her house to steal some candy and then go back. And then when I grew up and I looked back at it, because my aunt and uncle now live in that house, and I'm like, there's 10 trees. But it felt magical as a kid.
yes.
And I wish I would love to know when that stops. Like,
I think sometime during like the schooling process, honestly, because yeah, we
Yeah,
have like
I was gonna say
recess,
like
but
adolescence, like
yeah.
12
Yeah,
to like 15.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and we start identifying less with the natural world around us, and we start identifying with our peers more. Because, you know, like Carrie said it, you know, in adolescence, that's when we stop identifying not just like with our parents, but with like the natural world, and we start looking to our peers to define who we
Yes.
are. And
yeah.
if your peers aren't going out into nature, you're not going to do it
Right.
either.
Right.
I lost that connect. I mean, except for the camping with my dad, and I definitely lost that, and definitely through college, I didn't really have a lot of
Yeah.
that connection. That's probably why I was
Yeah,
ahead.
because we never even like hiked Mount Nittany. That's one
We
of
never
the
did.
big
I just
things.
did that last October for the first time. Did Mount Nittany.
Without?
Yeah, it was when we went up for homecoming with like Mark and sorry.
Oh, okay.
It was a great hike though.
I'm sure
We
it
should do it.
was.
I feel like it could also be marked from when riding bikes stopped being cool, and that is like Al said, around at like 5th grade-ish, 6th grade-ish, when riding the bikes with the neighbors is no longer
cool.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that I had my horse, I probably would have stopped much longer, long time ago.
I was so jealous of my friends that had horses because I felt like they connected in this way that a lot of people don't get to.
Mhm.
And especially when horses a lot are used in like therapy settings. And I think
they
that
are.
it's a magical bond that you can have with a
Dude,
horse. And I've
it
always
is.
been like, the
I
closest
can't
I
even
had
lie to
was
you.
Epona.
Yeah, it's
And
the
Zelda.
horses are like magical.
Yeah, they are.
They're magical. She would
That's
just
why-
take like they transmute energy. I'm telling you. They are like master transmuters. I mean, the amount of times that I would just go to the barn and just hug around her neck and I would literally just instantly feel relief.
Mhm.
They take so much of our pain away. I'm gonna get emotional because it's just so unbelievable. And like
Yeah.
galloping through an open field, going as fast as you can is to this day at 32 years old, the best experience of my life. The adrenaline and the
Mhm.
freedom in that is
And the
just and being
trust.
so connected, the trust with the animal, there's nothing like it.
About every year I try and con Mark into going horseback riding because I love that.
I thought you were
feeling.
gonna say to getting a horse. I'm like, you just give that up. It's not gonna happen.
It might happen. It could happen. But no, just going and riding one, it's exact the feeling of it is just, and I think it's that connection that you have with something else that understands nature. So like it's a little like through connection to nature you can have with another being. They don't have the humanistic type emotions that we do. Theirs is all nature based.
Mhm.
And to kind of have that bond and that for that moment you feel it too. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and they're less domesticated than dogs and cats. They're not. I mean, yes, they live in barns and stuff. But they're not quite as domesticated as the animals that we normally interact with.
Yeah. Yeah, my dogs could not fend for themselves if they were outside.
Raid make it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Flynn would not. I promise you, Flynn would not.
He'd be at the back door. Mom.
Yeah, he's funny.
Me.
Well, I have a question. So, like, I was just thinking, there's so many times throughout the day where I'm like, I need to go outside. Why does it feel like a chore when we love it so much?
That is, yes. That is such a good question because like if I'm like stuck inside for whatever reason, like work just gets really busy
Or like with your injury.
or you sprain your toe or whatever and you can't go out, sometimes things like that just happen and you can't go out and it's a market effect on the psyche and it gets to a point where you're like, I could go out, but like now I don't want to. It's so crazy like how that can be and every time, speaking for myself, like every time I do it, I'm like, why am I not doing this all the time?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
why do I live like this?
Do you think it's
like,
a comfort? Like we build a little we know we're safe here. We're like
Yes.
in the woods, like
Nested.
technically I could fall or something could attack me. And so it's this fear-based thing. We like what?
I think it is part of it. So do you remember the part in Watership Down toward the end? He was talking about winter time and he was saying, so Watership Down is a book about like a bunch of rabbits, like trying to find a new home living on this, a new warren.
You guys should read it. It's very good.
One of my all-time favorite books. And there's this part towards the end when he's talking about winter time and he says that humans think that they love winter, but what they actually love is feeling proof against the elements. And
I
so
believe that.
what you just said kind of reminded me of that is, yes, we do love nature, but we also are afraid of it. There's a lot to be afraid of. It's not always pretty. Nature has so many beautiful lessons to teach us. Some of them are to flow. Some of them are to stand your ground and stay rooted. Or some of them are just that life isn't always pretty.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that the reason that we build our houses and, all these other things is that we enjoy, some part of us enjoys feeling a superiority to that. And the gag is that we're not. Like we're always going to be a slave to the rhythms of nature, whether we acknowledge it or not.
Yeah.
And that's what I really love about being in nature. It's like when you get out there, you can disconnect from, these cycles that we as a culture and as a society are largely divorced from. And we can actually, when we can tap in, we can transcend the concept, even the modern concept of death, you know, as
Yeah.
something final or something to be feared. We can recognize them when we get out there, that it's not about dying and ending. It's about transforming. All things go on, just in different form.
Emily and I
Yeah.
were kind of talking about this recently too, because there's this one woman, she's an anthropologist, and anytime she comes across an animal that most likely was
yeah.
hit by like a car or
Yes.
something, she will move it
Mm.
to somewhere else and does this really beautiful acknowledgement of its life, and also so that it's at a safe place for nature to take its course, because a lot of the animals she runs in contact with are vultures, coyotes, the things that we see as disgusting because they eat roadkill,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but they have to survive. That's part of nature.
Yes.
And like,
Right,
I think
yeah.
every single hike I go on, I find something that has passed. And I always take a minute to acknowledge its life and to understand that it's part of the system.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
nature, and there's beauty in that death, because
Yeah.
it once was something.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I mean, even
Absolutely.
like I love like fallen trees and like logs and stuff like that. Like I have a very like sensory relationship with nature. Like I have to touch it. Even if it's
Yes.
like trees that are like literally you pick it up and it turns into like dust in your hands, or like moss or
Yeah.
like stones. Like it's like you can if you just be quiet for a little bit, you can feel it breathing with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't know, I just feel like that's what life is about, is connecting with other life. I just don't think there's a whole lot of people think that there's a lot more separation than there actually is. And it seems daunting, kind of to go back to your point, Carrie, like it seems daunting to go out there and to connect, because it's not always kind. It's impartial. It doesn't care in a sense like about us. Like I do believe nature can love us and does love us, but sometimes it's a tough love, and it's
Yeah.
not always going to be kind to us. And
Right.
that's why we build our houses. And so when we forget to go out, you know, you can tell the difference. It's part of life. You have to be part of the ugliness sometimes to
Yeah.
experience the beauty.
Because we do
Yeah.
feel really bad. When I'm in the house too long, I do not feel good. I don't even know exactly. I feel a lot of things and none of it's good.
I feel restless. Like I feel just restless
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I
just
feel
blah.
restless, useless, like, you
Yeah.
name
Yep.
it.
All the
And
less,
Yeah.
listless, all
Yeah.
the less.
yeah, I feel less.
Yeah, just less in general. Yeah.
Emily and I have been really trying to take intentional walks. Like we're trying to remove the exercise concept out of the walks that we're going on, because we walk on this trail that's close to our home and it's wooded, and it really is like a state of mind and a perception, because since we've like really started to be more mindful when we're walking, we're not like, oh my gosh, okay, we're halfway through, oh it's almost over, like,
Right.
and we're just kind of soaking everything in. Like the way that you said that you like to feel nature, I like to smell it. Like I'm obsessed with the smell of it. And it's like also like going outside equates to exercise. And
That
some
is-
people have
That is exactly what my reason for not being in nature is, because, as much as I should, because I equate it to exercise.
Mm.
And I don't want it to be a chore.
right.
I
right.
mean, I know there's some people that like exercise. I personally, I'm not your girl. It's just not me. I don't mind being physical, but like, let's be doing something fun, like swimming or bird watching or, something fun. So I'm glad you said it, because I was like, should I say this or not?
Yeah,
But
say
yeah,
it.
it. I don't like thinking of nature as exercise. I
Well,
can't
it's
stand
the
it.
same thing as like I can't eat that cheesecake because it's bad. You know what I mean? So you don't eat the cheesecake, and then it's like, well, I don't want to go outside because if I go outside, like people have trauma around exercising and around food. I
Yep.
mean, real
Mhm.
trauma.
Yep.
And so like if it's like, well, if I'm going to go outside and walk, it's not the going outside, it's the moving of the
Yeah.
body. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is.
Seriously.
And you rarely
really is.
hear people be like, oh, do you want to go for a walk just to be outside? Do you want to go for a walk for some exercise? Like it is
Yes,
always,
because I
Or a
need to
destination.
yes, there's
You know?
always to
Yes.
somewhere.
or
Yeah.
I need to improve something about myself. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, it's so the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
Right,
It is so
yeah.
the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
Do you guys do
Um,
anything while you're out on your walks that make it more intentional, like to soak in with nature?
We will stop and
Stare.
literally stare and smell our surroundings, especially because like there's different bridges and stuff throughout the path where there's beautiful stream
yeah.
and water, and we'll just stand there and just admire and the water, listen to it, smell it, like trying to stay in the present moment instead of the future. Oh, I can't wait till this is over.
Yeah,
you know.
right.
And we love our birds. So we're always
Love,
looking for cardinals.
yes.
We're always looking for blue jays. We're always looking for the birds.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean that has really changed. I don't dread it. Like, oh, I have to walk 4 miles.
Right.
Like it has really taken the pressure off. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter when we finish. It doesn't need to be in an hour and 6 minutes. Like I'm not trying to beat any time.
Right.
And it's made a big difference. But I really want to get out. I know I need to be outside more. And you know what's interesting? I was thinking about, we read for a living. It's what we do for a living. And at my parents' house, because you brought it up, so I work from my parents' house and I do all my lives, I do all my private readings from there. And I love the room. Like my soul created that room that I do my Reiki in and my readings in, and I'm very connected to it. But the energy in a home or in a room of a home gets so stagnant so fast. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just it harbors all of us, our negative, our positive. It harbors our energy. So in the summertime, I tried, like there was a few times that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna plug in outside and I'm gonna do my lives from outside. And I swear to God, I'd never been more psychic in my life. I swear to God,
There was
never been
something
more
so
psychic in my
different
life.
about those. When the
Wasn't
first one I went in and I was like, where are you? Like, this is nice.
Yes. And it started out like 4 people, which is very slow for TikTok. 4 people is very slow. And then I didn't care. I did not care. Where like if I would have been in the house and there would have been 4 people, I'd be like, I gotta restart the live. This isn't enough people. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't give a like
Right.
truly. It just felt good to be outside. And then I think because I was enjoying myself, more people came in. I had one of the most successful financially lives I've ever had. And I let go. Like I was allowed, it was easier for me to let go being outside. It's just crazy, like thinking back on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it, is not holding yourself to these things that we have to do. So like when I'm training for my runs, I often do them outside, and I do have things that I am setting for, but I don't make that limit myself to those. So if I'm running and there's like someone ran over a snake, I will stop my run and move it. Or if there's a bird or deer, I will stop. I don't care that I'm losing time because I'm here. And I think that helps. Those little moments of being conscious of your surroundings and not being fit into these measurements that only we with
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah.
That's no, it's not real.
That's the thing, is that like nature doesn't expect anything out of you other than to be whatever you are. Nature doesn't care
Right.
like what your 5-year plan is. It doesn't
Yeah.
care what your password is with one uppercase letter and one like kooky symbol. It doesn't care. Like it just all
No.
it demands of you is to be. That is it.
Well, it does when you be kind to it. Like don't litter people. Okay?
Well, yes,
Please
please,
don't litter.
please be kind back. It's a reciprocal relationship, certainly.
Right.
Like you do
Yes.
need to be kind in order to, I don't want to say reap the benefits of it, because nature, I believe, gives selflessly, but to get the most out of it,
Right.
the most out of that experience, yes, please be kind.
Yeah. The rules that we put in our own lives do not apply in nature. And maybe that's why it feels so scary. We live every day by this calendar, by time, by meetings, by schedules, and out there it doesn't exist. And oftentimes you're robbed of it because you're out there and you're just willy-nilly, and all of a sudden the sun is setting and you've got a 2-hour walk home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, girl.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? Like a lot of times when I do Reiki and I'm like reading into the energy, a lot of people, and I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. I only say what spirit gives me, but like vitamin D deficiencies are real, people. And there are lights that you can buy. And I'm like, they're $400, $500, $600. And I've even like suggested the lights to people, especially if they're dealing dealing with like seasonal depression and stuff like that, because I know it helps my dad. But I'm like, you don't even have to spend that. You just sit outside in the sun for 20 minutes a day. You're
Right.
there.
Just throw on your
There's-
SPF.
Yeah, throw in your
Yes.
SPF. Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Even in the
damn,
winter.
and start early. Don't start
Yeah.
late like us people who are frying ourselves. Well, not you. You didn't fry yourself in the tanning beds outside.
In the
yeah.
bed, yeah. I've
I did.
never cried in a bed. That's like, I mean, I've even seen things like that with like, so I've seen several documentaries about how the Earth, yes, it does take from us, but it also releases electromagnetic frequencies as well that
Yeah.
can be healing to the human body.
Yes.
And so I've seen people selling like electromagnetic pads and stuff that you can like bring in your house or even hook up like under your bed. That's cool and everything, but just go outside. You know,
Yes, that's
take your
what
shoes
I'm
off
saying.
and just go outside. You know,
Right.
like
That's what, like, why are we
that.
resisting just going outside?
Yeah,
Like,
it really is a resistance that we all feel it in so many ways. Not as children. I couldn't have been outside long enough as
no,
a kid.
Yes.
And
me
all of a sudden
either.
we grow up and it's like, oh my God, to go
Oh.
outside. I don't even want to go off to the
We start
mailbox.
watching like we have like
Right.
TV shows that we think we have to finish. We have work that we think we
Yeah.
have to finish, and it's like this ain't important.
Yeah.
These measurements that we really stick ourselves with.
Yeah.
And there is
Yes.
something different about like taking your shoes off and like stepping on the different type of grasses, especially when you find
Yes.
good moss.
Mud.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like when
I love
they
the
always
mud.
tell you, oh yes, when I had my kids and they were little, when they were babies, and I remember Leanna went through like a really difficult time with sleep regression, and it wasn't that she wasn't sleeping through the night, but it was that her going to sleep was really like she would just throw like the most epic fits for like an hour, and I mean it would be not just like it would be full screaming, like turning purple, resistance, and nothing would work, nothing would calm her down but taking her ass outside. I don't know
Love
what
that.
it is. I mean, I would be pacing the room. I would be like, let's listen to calming music. Nope, 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 nope. And especially when it's cold, it's like it kind of like shocks their little
Yeah.
system. And they're like, I forgot why I'm so upset.
Right.
Well, it's crazy. I know 100% in Iceland. I think it's in Norway also.
Yes, they
When you
sleep out,
go,
they nap
yes, you go
in
to
their
the restaurants
carriages.
and there's a stroller outside with a baby in it.
Hmm.
Yes, and that is just how it is. They're babies, they park them outside, and that is where they nap. Even at home, their babies sleep outside
Yeah.
in their carriages, on like the porch, out the front door, whatever.
And I mean, they're
It-
bundled. I mean, they are bundled.
Yes,
Like
yes,
they're
they
in-
are.
They're safe.
They're
Yeah.
in there, and
Yes.
listen, the clothing I've gotten from Iceland is the warmest I am not worried about those babies. Like
No.
but there is something in it, and I've seen a lot of conversations. I mean, the first time I went, Mark and I went to go in a restaurant, and I was like, oh, I guess they just leave their strollers, and I was like, there's a child in there.
Yes.
And I was like, but I'm not one to judge. I was like, first of all, this is not my country. I don't know. And then I found out that that's just what they do. And there's
Yep.
something with their bodies and the regulation of, I guess,
Yes.
like temperature and the things around them that's just, it's
And even like outside of just going outside, like let's just talk about like the elements for a minute. Because if you have a child and they're really upset, and let's say it's a blizzard, so you're not taking them outside, put them in a bath. That's babies that are colicky or babies that are just having a hard time. It's immediately they calm down. Immediately. Also, did you guys know that Avatar drops today? The movie? Were you big
Wait.
Avatar fans?
Like the Last Airbender?
Yes.
Wait, it's a
Okay.
movie or it's a show? I thought they were doing
It's
a live action.
they remade it live action and it drops today.
Was that on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, I have Al to thank for that one because I
That
just
show is my whole
Oh
heart.
my God.
My whole
yeah.
That
heart.
show, and I just got into it maybe maybe even a year ago. Like I just watched it. I was like, you know what? Everyone's been talking to me about this. I know it's a little like under my age bracket, but I don't give a
No,
fuck.
it's
Watch it
not.
anyway. But it's not.
It is.
It's not. I went to
No.
them and I was like, we need to start this over. I finished it, and the next day I was like, we're starting this over.
And so
Yeah.
the live action drops today. So I figured like in honor of it's 2/22 right now on 2/22.
Wow.
Avatar just
22.
dropped. So we need to go. So if you could be any element, what
Ooh.
would you be?
Or like any type of bender, or
Yeah,
just any
bending. So earth
Water.
bending, air bending, water bending, fire bending.
water, definitely.
Same.
Do you
I'd be
remember what I
water.
said? I think I said air.
I think you said air. You and Mark both said air.
Yeah, I think I said air because we've talked about this before.
Ad nauseum.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure I said air. I think I said it because of everything that can
Flying.
be.
It's all right
Like you
there.
can-
Yes, yeah, it's just there's so much that you can do.
You can
I
pull
definitely didn't
from.
say fire because it's put out so easily and it's very hard. You have to do something to
Yeah.
make it. Although I love Zuko. Oh, I was
Yeah.
rooting for him.
We were all rooting for you. It was fine.
Yes, and then it was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I just love the water. Like I love like even in the show, like you can tell that they put a lot of love and care into the martial arts because
Yeah,
you
the
can
movement.
see when Katara in particular is water bending that it's very Tai Chi based. Like even like
Yes.
there's one move, it's called the single water whip, and single whip is a move in Tai Chi. Like that's a position, and like it's a
Yeah.
direct correlation. And I just thought it was so beautiful.
Me
I would
too.
love to be water.
But like Lauren, water you could find in places that you wouldn't even think water would be.
You
Clouds,
sweat at one
sweat.
point.
Yeah, the
Yeah, and I was
clouds.
like, that is
Saliva,
it is very
Blood,
cool.
the blood bending
blood
episode.
bending,
Yeah.
full moon.
Blood bending.
And I think that's what I really loved about this show is it really dove into the ways that we don't think about connecting with these things.
Yeah.
I love
Emily,
that.
what would
Yeah.
you be?
Water.
Water. Water. Water.
I'll make you guys wave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Earth bending looks pretty cool though too.
Yeah.
You know, I found I wish that they had done the earth bending in the show a little different, actually. I
Really?
found it a little clunky. I don't know why. It was all just bricks and
Rock.
More
rocks.
like rock,
Like,
yeah.
it was all just
Yeah,
rocks.
they
like
didn't really do anything with like
the sand,
mud
like
and sand. Yeah.
I mean, there were mud benders, there were sand benders,
Yeah.
but like primarily it was like, I'm gonna like pull
Throw
this
a rock at you.
out of my ass, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I mean, Toph did learn how to metal bend, which was
Yeah.
also very cool.
She
but-
did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. I got us on an avatar.
Yeah.
As we always do. That's how it works.
It's appropriate.
Yeah.
It's appropriate.
That is very appropriate. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, like your practices, like how you kind of get out there?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, so as far as my practices go, I mean, there's nothing really esoteric too much about it. I spend a lot of time hiking. I take, multiple walks like every day. I like to, like, one of the first things I like to do in the morning is just go outside and just like take in the sun. Usually take like an hour or so walk like at lunchtime and then like another walk like right before bed. And then as far as like my practices go, a lot of it is composting.
Mhm.
kind of just giving back instead of like throwing things into a landfill. Giving back and expressing gratitude, I would say, is just touching something
Mhm.
and saying like thank you. Even if it's just the food that's in your house, like you grab an apple, just be like, you know what? If you think about the process that led to that,
Yep.
some seed came up out of the ground and then sprouted this fruit that magically has all this like nutrients that we need. Like that's incredible. So just like
Yeah.
just remember every time you eat something, just that's the thing about nature is that it's everywhere. It is the world that we live in. So anything can be spiritual.
And it gives us everything that we need. Everything that we need, from medicine
Yep.
to food to
Yeah.
water. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Everything can be found in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really can. Well, has his animal oracle cards.
Archangel cards
I
that
love
got me.
I did.
love it.
Dude.
The squirrel.
Yes. Okay, here's the deal. So the card that we got is the gray squirrel. And
Wow.
I'll hold it.
that is so crazy because that was the first card I ever pulled from this deck. So the way that the deck works is that it's an animal, but it also corresponds with an archangel. And before I'd even gotten this deck, I was listening to a lot of like manifesting podcasts and things like that. And one of the things they would always be like, ask for a sign that you're on the right path. And so mine for the longest time was a squirrel, which kind of seems like a cop out because there's squirrels everywhere, but whatever. It felt very special to me, and I would know.
Well, you had that weird interaction with a squirrel at his house. So I get it.
Sometimes, like, if it was just like I see a squirrel like run across, like that probably wasn't it. But like if I hear it, it usually comes up in some different way.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was also working with Archangel Raphael, you know, just trying to, I had medical things and I was just like working on like healing myself. And Archangel Raphael he's a healer, he's a creative. So I was, you know, doing a lot of work with him. So when I pulled this card, she was on the phone with me. The gray squirrel corresponds with Archangel Raphael.
Mhm.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
Love it.
a beautiful connection. So let's see.
And the bottom says find new ways of solving problems.
Thank you.
Ooh, love that.
So what it says here is the gray squirrel wisdom of this card invites you to look at your life challenges in a new way. It is suggesting that there is a solution to all your problems if you look at them from a different angle. You were advised that you will also need to put effort into finding this resolution. So be ingenious, explore the possibilities, and think things through carefully. Persevere. You will inevitably receive a reward, which may be financial, the good feeling of success, or the resolution of a former challenge. You are also asked to expand your lower limitations. It's time to fly. Have fun, be curious, and enjoy the new potential that you are allowing to flow into your life. Find a new way to express your life force and vitality in the options that are becoming available to you. And I think that works really well with what we're talking about,
Yes.
you know, finding
Definitely.
new perspectives and new angles. You know, that's what we're talking about with disconnecting and
Mhm.
unplugging is like
Stepping outside our comfort zone,
Step
which a lot of
outside of
times is literally outside.
yeah
Yeah.
Mhm.
to express your life force and vitality. I mean, that's what nature is. It's a perpetual act of creation over and over again in every second. So
Yeah.
Love it.
Beautiful. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yes.
First of all, Al, thank you for being here, for joining.
Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Al.
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. Carrie and Emily both go live on TikTok and can also be found on Instagram. Carrie can be found at Clarity by Cam, CAM, and Emily at Enchanted Mystic by MK. So we will see you next time. Bye.
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 thanks, guys. Love that.